All right, what's up, GFFL? So the owner of Any Given Sunday, Matt and I, we decided we're going to try and do something every Sunday night at halftime and post like a little stream or a podcast that'll be through my YouTube. But so we're just kind of giving it a shot tonight and see how it goes. We're going to talk about
We're
a couple
winging it.
things. Yeah, we're winging it. We're rolling with 4th and 20. That's the name of the show. So unless you can come up with something better, then we're open. We're open for ideas. So the first thing I wanted to start off with is just the biggest takeaway from the Bobcast. I heard a lot of great things. I heard a lot of good things from Bear, White's dog. Uh, Definitely the smartest person on that Bobcast. So, but my biggest takeaway was Tim's PayPal is broke. Not broke like $0 in it that we know of, but that it's not working. I mean, Matt, we kind of have firsthand experiences with this, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, like I can go back to I don't know, like 2006 when I think PayPal was brand new, and had that account Tim has just always seems to have some issues for some reason.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure we
Venmo, PayPal, you name it.
We tried ordering a pizza from Cafaro's one night when we were living together in college, and he told us his PayPal was broke then. So Bob, you may want to look into that. So that was just one of my biggest takeaways. So, but kind of since we got a new guy here with me, I've been in the league for quite a few years. I like hearing what other people think about the league. Matt's heard a lot about my feelings towards the league and how much I've liked it. And,
He said it sucked.
yeah, it sucks. Now, he knows that's a lie.
Yeah.
But so just figured I'd start our stream off with just as a new owner, what's your thoughts on the GFFL so far? What do you like about it?
So right out the gate, I think the communication between the owner and all of the other players in the league has been really solid, really fast. Also, I think the level of participation between the owners in the league is pretty cool too. I think it's probably the most active league that to this point that I've been involved in. So I really like that. I also, the fact that you keep so many guys, I didn't start out in the best situation, but I'm excited to see where that can lead. And I think that really, brings you involved heavily into your team because you're keeping so many guys year after year.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the cool things I like about it is just the depth. And Bob's definitely he's a great I don't know if you want to say manager or guy that runs a league. So he makes it definitely worthwhile to stay in it and stick through the whole year, or and years going forward. So I'm always curious to hear what people's ideas are, or thoughts, ideas or potential changes to the league. I know this is pretty early and pretty new,
Yeah.
But just curious.
Yeah. So, we kind of talked about this a little bit before, and I know even Bob's throwing that out there. And really right now, I don't know if I have any changes or anything like that I'd like to make because, I don't exactly, I have a vision for what I'm trying to do with my team, but I don't know exactly where it's going yet. So it's kind of hard to say. I honestly like the standard scoring. I've kind of I've always been a fan of that. So I don't think I'd ever want that to change. It's not to say like, if scoring ever changes, I'd be out of the league or anything like that. But like, right. I just think that's like to the roots of fantasy football. I like having the extra receiver too. I think I like the idea of the extra receiver. I'm not really built for it right now.
Right.
But I think that long term, I'm going to like that because most leagues that I've done thus far have not had that extra receiver plus a flex. And I think when you're keeping 8 guys, that position now becomes a lot more relevant.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a little biased, but I've always loved the extra receiver because I've always had a good stable. But I'm sure it'd be difficult, if you're searching for someone, every week. I think that this is kind of a glaring thing. You know, you were first up on the Bobcast, and you took a pretty rough grade from Bob. I was surprised to hear him give you a D. And then even to come back, you know, he gave me a C, and I definitely thought my draft was really bad. You know, some things, you know, I mean, this isn't necessarily about my draft, but I definitely waited on a quarterback way too long. And, you know, when you're drafting at the end of the, you know, the round, it's just tough. But, you know, so defend your draft. Let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so I think the biggest question was, you know, I mean, I had first pick in the first pick this year. I think I got pretty lucky that it was a no-brainer for me. There's not you don't walk into every year with a running back that's going to that good of a situation and that high of a skill level. In my eyes, at least, I think Saquon was probably the last one to come out that was like a consensus number one. Not to say that I think CEH's skill level was that of Saquon, but I think he went to a much better position. Just, you know, finding himself as the workhorse for a number one team that just won the championship. And, you know, he also has the skill set to do just about anything on the field from what I've seen in college and in the minimal one game in the pros. So I think there was no doubt on that pick. The second pick, I guess I can see where Bob's coming from with Will Fuller. I think that Will Fuller is one of those guys that, as fantasy owners goes, you either love him or you hate him.
Yeah,
guys either think he's going to be a bust and he's going to get injured, or, you know, they see the skill. So to take you through my thought process there, really the only other just pick that I considered at that pick was Zach Moss. You know, I did have a lot of other receivers on my team, but realistically, they're all old. And I didn't foresee them as wanting them to be in my starting lineup for long, outside of maybe Emmanuel Sanders. So I was looking at that position like, you know, I'm not valuing taking a running back here over a receiver. I'm looking to take best available and build from there. And I liked Will Fuller in the past. I think when Hopkins was there, even when he was healthy and he was on the field, he had a good chemistry with Deshaun Watson. I also believe that, you know, from what I've seen in the offseason, he's put on a couple extra pounds to try to stay healthy. He didn't score a touchdown this last week, but his targets were high. I know that's only 1 week, so you can't really go off.
Right, definitely.
But in my mind, I'm taking a guy that's, I think, in his fourth season, but I'm viewing it almost as his third because of his injury. So I don't know. You know, and I may be thinking of it the wrong way. Like, this is my first time in a keeper league of this size, but I look for where Will Fuller was going in redraft leagues, and it was a lot earlier than, say, round 8 or 9.
Yeah,
we already have 8 or 9 guys on our roster, so I didn't think taking him there was too bad of a spot.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest. I like Will Fuller as a player, and, you know, I have DeAndre Hopkins, and just seeing him like vulture, you know, his first couple of years, and I'm like, man, he's really good. But, you know, obviously, I think, you know, maybe my opinion would be a little bit different if I owned him and he was hurt or, you know, had a busted season. So I could see where Bob's coming from, but I kind of like that pick.
Yeah, and from there, I mean, you can go down through some of my other picks. I actually went pretty receiver heavy because I think I needed the receivers, and just from my style of drafting running backs, I tend to not like shared backfields. They've just my fantasy history, they've not played out in my favor. So I guess I always assume that I'm going to get the wrong one of that.
Definitely.
Just because that's how it's gone in the past, it seems like, for me. So I thought that if I can get strong at wideout, you know, and Robbie Anderson was another guy that I kind of wanted to go after because I kind of liked his position change to Carolina, the scene that he was getting. For as late as we are and as few guys that are left, I thought he could get a lot more targets and not be necessarily the main guy. So he may see some single coverage. Obviously, with Justin Jefferson, I think great college player, comes into a scheme that once he learns, I think he can be pretty good in the second half of the season. And then another guy that, you know, I kind of liked where I got him was Jerick McKinnon. He is in a timeshare, but it was so late, and you won't even really call it a timeshare. But if you remember a year prior to last, from the 18 season, he was really high up on most experts draft lists, and then he had a season-ending injury. So I was willing to take that shot on him late in the draft. And then, trying to get younger at quarterback. If Daniel Jones doesn't pan out, maybe Joe Burrow would. He's a guy that I personally really like. I think he's going to do pretty good things in Cincy. I don't know how good that'll translate to fantasy, but I'm not going to be riding with Brady for very long.
Right. No, and I think you got to do that. You got to take your stabs, and it's a deep roster, so so we'll kind of keep it moving. We're trying to keep it between 15, 20 minutes each week, and just so it's a little bit easier to digest and consume. So kind of we didn't really know where to go. Bob and Whitus did a good job of doing some draft grades and just talking about some matchups and stuff. So Matt and I figured we'd talk a little bit about just players in general. The first thing we're going to talk about is just Matt and I both picked a breakout player prediction, and obviously my player prediction is looking pretty good. He scored a touchdown already, and actually I'm making some money off of him tonight. I took a anytime touchdown bet with him, so he scored in the first half of the Steelers game, and he's kind of looking pretty good. Ben's looking a little bit rusty, but he has his moments where he's looking good. I pulled some stats. 2018, he's a 1,400-yard receiver. That's with Ben. 111 receptions, 166 targets. That's a ton of targets. 7 touchdowns. I know AB was there, but you kind of fast forward, and I was just looking at Duck Hodges' quarterback rating was a 71. Mason Rudolph was an 82. And then, in the years that Roethlisberger was there with him was 96, 93, 95. So, it's just, for me, I think it's not necessarily a no-brainer, but I have a lot of confidence that, he's going to have a big-time better year this year.
Yeah, and I have no disagreement with that pick 100%. I also think him not being, it seemed like he was banged up consistently last year, yeah. Not fully healthy. So, this is only his third full year, right? This is his third season, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So to have, what he's done already in the NFL has been impressive. And he was one of the youngest receivers as a rookie. So he's still a really young dude.
Yeah.
I think he practices well, and the weapons you've mentioned, I think.
And you think about it too. 2018 was Ben's best statistical year. How much does Juju play into that being his best year? Like I said, they're minus AB, but hey, something to think about. So why don't we go ahead and throw it to you? Who's your breakout player?
Yeah. So I really thought about it, and I don't know if he's crazy. This is like a shock because I think a lot of people are high on him, but Calvin Ridley for me, I think is going to go even further beyond expectations this year. I think he ends up finishing the year in the top 10 of fantasy as far as wide receivers go. And basically my justification for that is it's his third year. So he's had some experience already. He's been pretty reliable in both his sophomore or his freshman and sophomore years. A little bit injured last year. He missed 3 games, but he's seen 92 and 93 targets in both of his first 2 seasons. And 93 was only in 13 games. I think he sees even more this year. I think having Julio actually helps him. Because you still have to worry about him, and I think Calvin gets most of the single coverage. He's put on a little bit of muscle in the offseason to try to get a little bit more yards after catch, which was one thing of his that wasn't very high. I think that goes up. I think he sees a ton more targets. I predict he's anywhere between 110 to 130 targets. I'm predicting 11 touchdowns, 90 receptions, and 1,200 yards. And I just, Atlanta's going to have to throw the ball a lot. You saw it in game 1. I think
he had a good game. He had a really good game.
He had a good game, yeah. Like Matt Ryan could very well end up throwing up for the most yards this season just because their defense isn't very great. So I think he's I think he's locked and loaded for, a monster year potentially.
Definitely. And so let's see here. We got the Steeler game coming back on. We're going to keep it moving. So we're going to go into players that we think are going to have a little bit of, well, maybe not necessarily a little bit, but they're definitely going to regress. Matt, I'll let you go ahead first.
All right. Yeah. So, sorry, Hoove, but
I know.
Le'Veon Bell, I'm going to make this quick. I just don't think his patient running style works in New York. They don't have the ability to hold the blocks like when he was playing for the Steelers. There's not really a lot of talent around him, so he's going to see a lot of stacked boxes. Frank Gore is snatching some of the goal line carries. Adam Gase has made comments in the offseason that they want him to see a lessened load, perhaps. We're not playing in a PPR league, so one of his strong suits and getting 50-plus catches doesn't really matter. Yeah, so sorry, Hugh, again, but I see him under 700 rushing yards this year. That and that's even if he can stay healthy. I know that's probably a stretch for him to stay under 700, but I just don't like the situation that he's in, and from the reports that I've seen, I don't really like his mindset either in New York right now.
Yeah, no, I think they're, I'm hoping that that's not going to happen, but
obviously
he's hurt now. He's got a hamstring, so they don't know how long he's going to be out. That's a pretty big blow to my team. But he wasn't that great for me last year either. But it is what it is, and I hope that he picks it up at some point. But it's not looking too good right now. So I'm going to move into my player regression. It's Mark Ingram. I actually owned him, I think last year, in one of my in Tim's league actually, and he was pretty good for me. I liked having him, and then it came around to making our keepers for Tim's league, and I did make a mistake by dropping one guy, but that was total screw up on my part. But I definitely had a plan to drop Mark Ingram. I don't like the backfield situation. I don't like his age. He doesn't, he hasn't caught a lot of balls. It's coming down every year. He's catching less and less. And, you bring in a guy like J.K. Dobbins and, they drafted him for a reason. And then on top of that, who else is in that backfield? Gus Edwards is in there. And I know I'm forgetting the name of the other guy too. So, you're looking at 4 backs that they all like.
Yeah.
Baltimore likes them all. So, I kind of think that he's gonna have a pretty big regression.
Yeah.
And I think this actually, my point leads into our next topic, impactful rookies.
Yeah. So
you go ahead.
I know the obvious pick is a guy that's on my team, and I don't really want to do that. So my impactful rookie is J.K. Dobbins. I think he's similar to CEH, where he's going into a good scenario with the team that's very good, has a lot of weapons around him. I think he can do a little bit of everything for his compact, small stature. He's, very powerful. He runs hard. I think that he's going to develop as a better receiver out of the backfield than what he was even in college. He had over 2,000 yards his last year in college. I think he had something like 21 or 23 touchdowns. And he did have a fair amount of receptions for that Ohio State offense. So I really like J.K. Dobbins, and I think for the Ravens, it makes sense if you can cut down from 4 backs to a young guy that could potentially be a stud, to trim a couple guys and not have to pay a couple guys. I don't think he picks up quite as many fantasy points in the front end of the season, but I think, week 8 and beyond, I think he ends up being a top 10 running back in the final stretch of this year.
Yeah. I agree. I think he'll be a pretty good rookie. Well, you wouldn't do it, but I will. CEH, I'm going to say he's an impactful rookie. I'm a little biased, I guess, because he had a great first game, and he's on, but to be honest, he's on the best offense, one of the best offenses in the league. And, he's, highly touted, and, I'm not going to spend much time on it, but that's who I think will probably, I was even thinking about throwing some money at him as the offensive rookie of the year, speaking of betting, part of what we want to try and do is talk about the Monday Night Football line. So tonight it works out for us, even though we're doing it at the halftime of this Monday night game. We're looking at the Titans game tonight against Denver. I get a little leery of betting on the Titans. I feel like you just don't know what you get, except for Derrick Henry, which he's going to score tonight. So, and I'm a little biased, but I think that if I were to put money on this game, I would probably bet on Derrick Henry to have an anytime touchdown. It doesn't, it doesn't pay that well, but I think that, that's probably your best bet. If I had to pick for the spread of the game, I probably would end up taking the Titans -3. I think they have a better team. I think losing Von Miller. I think I just got a thing to my phone a little bit ago. It said Sutton is out. So your rookie quarterback. Not well, he's not a rookie quarterback, but that's sort of where I would lean. But if I was forced to put money on the game, I probably would put it on Derrick Henry to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's probably the safest bet. I don't know what the money pays out on that. I'm with you. I'm in agreement with you. If I'm forced to take a decision on the game money line spread or over under, my money would go on the Titans to cover the 3 points. Outside of that, I think it's a little unpredictable. I think Derrick Henry, depending on what he does in the first half, I've had him in a different league 2 years in a row now. He's a second half runner. So depending on what the live bet is during the first half, there's been lots of games that he's ended that first half with 30-ish, 35 yards, and he finished the games with 145 and 2 tutties because he just beats people up in that first half. So, if you're looking for a live bet, depending on how he does in the first half, I might jump on an over for him having a lot of yards in the second half. As long as they can keep it close. Yeah.
If I could make it to halftime, I might even look into that. I don't know if I'll be able to stay up that late. Maybe Whitus can make that bet for us. I know he's out there on the West Coast. All right. So, coach of the week, I think you had decided you chose the Tucson Chaos. You said that.
Yeah, and I remember looking through everyone's teams. I think he's winning his week in a freaking blowout.
Did you notice that all the games except for maybe 1 or 2 or 3, it's all blowouts?
Yeah, but I still looked at the decisions he made. He made solid starts all the way around. Not a lot of points that were left on his bench. I mean, there were a couple positions that he could have swapped out guys that maybe got 2 or 3 more fantasy points. But realistically, as I looked at the guys that he started versus the guys on his bench, nobody was making that start. Also, good on him. He has a lot of depth at the running back position. I noticed that as well. But yeah, I think just the guys that he chose and the moves that he made for this week, I think that he made the best fantasy decisions.
And it's always great to see Steve-O getting his ass kicked. So he's getting worked over pretty hard by Whitus. So that's pretty good. Same thing with the Yinzers.
Shout out to all these guys that I don't know in person.
Yeah. I'm gonna let the Yinzers and the H-Town Flatliners know. I dusted off the stats I used to keep to see what I think the worst loss that's ever happened in GFFL keeper was like 93 points. I didn't keep track of stuff last year, but I was like, man, they're getting beat pretty bad. I wonder if they're like topping that record, but they're not. So I guess maybe it's kudos to them. But yeah, they were getting it handed to them pretty well. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up here. We're going to talk about the game of the week. It kind of looks like we have 2 close games going on. We have Becker's team against Mokel's. It looks like Becker will probably pull it out, I'm thinking. So, that's a pretty big rivalry, and I'm sure Bob's pretty excited to, potentially get off to, 1-0 start. And then I would say my game is kind of up in the air. I'm down by 11 points right now. Don't like seeing Slayton catching so many passes, but I'm pretty confident with Derrick Henry left. That you can make that up.
Yeah, I same thing. We have the advantage of doing this Monday night. Going forward, we like to do it on Sunday night. But seeing as you have one game left tonight, it'll almost be like Sunday nights later in the season. I think you're in the game of the week right now. I know that you're still projected to win that game, but Slayton gets another touchdown in the second half. That's trouble. that now becomes a whole nother ball game for you.
I think I need a touchdown definitely out of Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
No doubt he could go for 120 yards, but 60 yards and a touchdown is a lot easier.
Yeah, when you're down 15 and you need 20 or 16 out of Derrick Henry, it's a little scarier than if you're down 8 and need, either 100 yards or a touchdown, because he's almost week in and week out, he almost guaranteed to get you that. Watch this be the week that he don't. I'm sorry, but
yeah, I know.
I got him in my other league and I need him too, pretty bad right now. But yeah, I think you're in the game of the week, and I think there's not a whole lot that either manager could have done much different on their lineup to be where they're at.
Yeah. So we are at 25 minutes, and we're going to end it here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Definitely let us know if you liked it, didn't like it, like to see some things that we could try and add into it. Definitely we'll have some more time, next week, and we're really trying to hope to make it a weekly thing. I wouldn't even mind maybe trying to get in and doing some, interview some owners, or, and just kind of do stuff like that. It's kind of cool what setup we got. We can even invite someone in during the halftime of the Sunday night games and just maybe talk with them for a few minutes. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Matt, thanks for jumping on and doing this with me. And
I'll be here every week with you, Hoove.
Good. All right, man. We'll see you guys later.